I'm reading a book on Robert Altman right now.
Are multiple pages like printed on the same page?
Just a little bit of overlapping,
sort of overlapping
here and there, and
yeah.
then a photo coming in. When I was young and getting into film, I'm like, well, I have to watch some Altman because he's really where it's at. And I could not make heads or tails of him, but I think I aged into Altman appropriateness.
Well, his filmmaking and his style seems so much about real life and about the way that people live. So the longer you live, the more you'll be able to appreciate that style.
Are there any like things when you were young you just didn't get?
The band.
The band.
I mean, I didn't hate them, but I just thought, I don't know what the big deal is. And then at one point, I just turned a corner. If only the band were a movie.
Well, they were that
The
one
Last
time.
Waltz.
The Last Waltz.
I didn't care for The Last Waltz the first time I saw it.
But not caring about it, just not getting it.
Yeah, no, I didn't get it.
How did you not get them?
I didn't get like this weird studio stuff that they did.
That confused me too.
The weird lute playing at the end. I also didn't get why it was a big deal because I wasn't into the group.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved Muddy Waters. Van Morrison with
high kicks.
Yeah,
His leisure suit that was like
jumpsuit.
a stuffed sausage.
I've got a bunch of movies that I've never seen before. You don't know what they are. Every episode, I'm going to spring one on you. We'll watch it and talk about it. Welcome to the basement. What do we know so far about my co-host, Craig Johnson? We know that he's a beautiful dancer. He collects postcards. He's a raconteur and a wit. But ho, friends, you don't know Craig Johnson until you know how much he loves Bob Dylan. Well, tonight, we are going to explore some of the cinematic work of Mr. Zimmerman.
Oh, no.
Now, I could very easily pull out some great movies from this envelope. Don't Look Back, No Direction Home, but those are documentaries. I want some fiction. I want to see Bob Dylan act. And act he does in tonight's film, Masked and Anonymous.
Oh, no. I've been avoiding this one. This has been your plan all along. You're like, I'm going to lure Craig in with a show about movies and wait a year and a half until I've got his trust.
And then stick the knife in.
There are people who are not detractors of this movie.
Released in 2003 and directed by Larry Charles of Seinfeld and Mad About You fame, this film features a crazy huge star-studded cast, most of whom worked for scale just so they could be in a movie with Bob Dylan. However, critics were unkind to the film. The late great Roger Ebert gave it a half a star out of 4, calling it a vanity production beyond all reason, while Ben Greenman of The New Yorker mystifyingly referred to it as knowing without always being knowledgeable. And I don't know what the hell that means. Is that praise? Is that criticism? I couldn't tell you.
I think we're going to be getting a lot of not knowing what that means tonight.
MAA was filmed in just 20 days. Utilizing digital video, Larry Charles was able to shoot up to 8 pages of script a day. Does that help the finished product? We'll find out.
I do have hope for the movie. I think that we will find diamonds in the rust.
As always on this show, I have a little gift for Craig. This is something that will help you proclaim your love of Bob Dylan to the world. That's right, sing it with me. The sun's not yellow, it's chicken.
I remember when I first heard this line, I was like, all right, this is the guy for me. I love that line. I don't know why he drops a barbell and points up to the sky, but...
The same thing happened to me. Not with just that line, but with that song, Tombstone Blues. That was the song that really made me want to delve into his music. Won't you come on over with us to the old leather couch for Masked and Anonymous?
Is that the best you can do?
Come on. All these guys have just listened to Shot of Love. In an alternate dystopian version of America that somewhat resembles a South American dictatorship, Uncle Sweetheart, a blue-suited big boy, is organizing a benefit concert.
However, I will be personally siphoning the majority of the funds into the kitty of the fattest cat of all. Me and you gentlemen will be paid.
I will show you the life of the mind. Good day.
They can't get any of the big name acts.
But he can get Jack Fate, forgotten musical legend. Uncle Sweetheart's partner, Miss Veronica, is skeptical about the whole thing.
I can't believe you're going to turn this disaster into a seduction.
Oh, come on. I really could use a John Goodman, Jessica Lange furious makeout scene right now. Like some Postman Always Wings Twice shit.
We've got dead aliens stacked up in warehouses. What else do you want to know?
Audience surrogate, these two guys. They let Jack out of a Mexican prison.
Hey, Prospero. What's happening, man?
Prospero's not here, man.
Where you headed? That way. That's a good direction.
That scene would have been much better if it was Bob Dylan and Chong.
They don't send a car for Jack, so he has to suffer public transit.
Comic book and us, we caught the bus.
What?
To the trash-strewn city where the concert is being held. Jack gets to town and he calls up his old friend Bobby Cupid.
Hello? What?
Tom Friend is a sleazy reporter with a neurotic girlfriend.
Rise, Solo, save me.
Why did they make me look frumpy for this movie?
She's obviously crazy because she does this thing with her hair.
He's been asked to do an interview of Jack Fate.
If you had to kill somebody, how will you do it?
With ants. Thousands and thousands of ants. You know this about me.
The president of the country, who seems to be somewhat of a dictator, is on his deathbed.
Dialing phone, dialing phone. Make it look real, make it look real.
Hello?
I like to think of myself as a cranky anchor.
Jack eventually meets up with Uncle Sweetheart.
Imagine yourself being reincarnated in the Civil War in Babylon.
Imagine yourself dressed as a weird cowboy bellhop.
Who introduces him to the best Jack Fate cover band in the world that looks a lot like Bob Dylan's real-life band. And they play a song. And we have a couple minutes of peace.
I'm feeling a very strange feeling right now. I'm actually enjoying the movie at this point. Jack shows up at the venue. Val Kilmer is a weird animal wrangler.
And he knows the name of all the animals.
Cheetah, the tiger, the snake, the monkey, the baboon, muskrat, the bobcat, fur trapper, the deer chaser, the man, the bear hunter, the deer trapper, the man, the bear hunter, the fur trapper, the man, the deer chaser, baby seal clubber.
What else happens?
Come on inside, I want to show this place, you'll like it.
Right. Can we take that again? I dropped my garment bag. Okay, we'll just keep going. Larry Charles needs to get through 8 pages today. Come get me, Diamond Joe. Let's hear it for the stationary Wilburys. Bobby Cupid shows up with Blind Lemon Jefferson's guitar.
How do you know it belonged to Blind Lemon?
Because it's lemon scented. In this scene, I want to sit in a weird way.
Right before the big show, Jack wanders off.
He can't even knock on a door naturally.
He goes to visit his father's mistress, who may have been his mistress at one time or another.
I wondered if you'd ever return.
Is this the Bob Dylan sex scene we've been waiting for?
Jack meets up with Edmund, who was an old childhood friend.
I remember your ma. Wonderful lady. Used to ask permission before she did anything.
She'd fine you every time you slammed the door. It's really the only way I can have fun watching this movie, is to plug in Bob Dylan lyrics whenever possible.
Jack, I think, is the son of the dictator.
Even though they seem to be roughly the same age.
But Edmund, the old childhood friend, is the one who's really in charge.
Hello, Jack. Do you know me?
Ed Harris in blackface.
The whole world's a stage.
Jack eventually finishes his wanderings and shows up in time for the big show. He gets up on stage and he starts singing, and at the exact same time,
The president is dead.
And Mickey Rourke takes over the presidency, and he is going to enact even more extreme policies in this already beleaguered country.
At the moment, we are giving people a new identity, erasing collective memory.
I will get Iron Man.
Paramilitary groups go everywhere and start cracking heads. Meanwhile, back at the concert venue, Uncle Sweetheart is trying to force booze onto Tom Friend's shy girlfriend. Tom shows up and he doesn't like that. They get into a scuffle. Oh, why isn't the ref stopping this? Tom Friend pulls a gun. He's gonna shoot somebody, but Bobby Cupid comes in with Blind Lemon's guitar. He smashes it over his head and he kills him by stabbing him in the neck with a guitar neck. A little poetic justice there. This is all just silly. Bobby Cupid sneaks out the back, and Jack takes the rap.
Jack Frost is hauled off to jail, where he... Jack Fate. He gets put on a bus to be left with his private musings.
It's just like the end of The Graduate, but pointless and dumb.
Sometimes it's not enough to know the meaning of things. Sometimes we have to know what things don't mean as well.
Who was masked? Who was anonymous?
I don't know. Don't ask me. Don't ask. Just, I got nothing else for you. Sometimes it's not enough to know the meaning of things. Sometimes we have to know what things don't mean as well. What does this movie mean, Craig? And what does it don't mean?
Oh, you know, things are falling apart. You just gotta keep on keeping on like a bird that flew. A large part of it is people's perceptions of Bob Dylan and what he is in the world and what an artist can do for the world. What does it really tell us anything about that? No, not really, but that's what the movie's about.
I did not experience the Putney Swope Panic because I think a movie has to have a somewhat brisk pace for that to happen. Putney Swope Panic is sort of like a roller coaster. If the roller coaster is just like, you're not going to feel it.
It's the little ride that kids take at the fair that just goes around in an oval.
I found suspension of disbelief to be impossible in this movie, simply because Bob Dylan is there. Just his presence constantly took me out of the movie.
I think that would be a lot like real life. If you were ever to meet Bob Dylan and he was just in the room with you, you'd be like, this is not real right now.
Right.
You know, it's like, I don't know if there's anyone working today that just like confuses and addles the mind so much that he himself seems like a dream.
And yet that doesn't make this movie fascinating.
I figured out how this movie would have been a lot better if Dylan didn't say or do anything. But no, I'm serious about this. If everyone's just talking to him and he's just passing through and everyone is just trying to make heads or tails of him being there, and he gets up to sing and everyone's like, what does he mean by that? Dylan was a co-writer on this movie.
Along with Larry Charles, the director.
So you have one guy who's known for making indecipherable poetry, and you have another guy who's known for making a sitcom about nothing.
Right.
You put them together, and you have indecipherable nothingness.
Yeah. There was one scene in this movie that was not the band playing a song that I actually liked, and I think if they made the rest of the movie like this one scene, they could have succeeded. It was when John Goodman and Luke Wilson are listening to the song, and they're talking about what it means.
Doing evil and trying to kill your conscience if you can. It's not like those other songs of his, the ones about faithless women and booze and brothels and the cruelty of society.
That seemed like the one moment of like genuine interestingness. I think if they just got rid of all the political garbage and just focused on the music and focused on the legend, they could have really had something.
This movie could have been Bob Dylan's Stardust Memories, where he's basically playing a cartoon version of himself and everyone just coming at him demanding more.
Well, he really should have just wrote down all of his ideas and given them to a screenwriter.
There is one visual in this movie that does really stick with me, and it's Ed Harris in blackface.
What the hell was that all about?
Well, I don't know what that's about. Of course I don't know what that's about. It was the only time when Dylan's in a scene and something weirder is happening.
So which of these two scenarios do you think happened? Mr. Harris, we'd like you to be in this movie with Bob Dylan. Okay. You're going to be in blackface. Oh, all right. Or, Mr. Harris, we'd like you to be in this movie with Bob Dylan. Can I be in blackface?
You know what this movie was? It's a talent bomb. There's a type of movie that happens on occasion where I see the cast and the director and the writer and everything, and you think that movie is going to blow my mind and I'm going to love it, and nothing works in it. So that would be like Dune or Crash.
Altman's Prairie Home Companion.
Oh, I like Prairie Home Companion.
Oh,
I'm thinking...
I hated it.
Pret-a-Porter. I hated that movie.
I haven't seen it.
Basically, any bad Altman movie is going to be a talent bomb.
Oh, sure.
The Coen Brothers Lady Killers.
Oh, yeah.
That was going to be great, and that didn't happen. But basically, it's a big party, and everyone's going to be there, and it's the worst party you ever went to.
Is there a Bob Dylan lyric that sums up your experience watching this film?
You know, too much confusion can't get no relief is one that comes to mind. Don't ask me nothing about nothing.
It's almost like a bird-watching exercise, where it's just like, you just get to watch Dylan walking around. You get to see him knock on doors, and dial phones in a really unnatural way, and it's sort of like you feel as though you're staring at him with binoculars.
Look, he's looking at a door. And like, you know, that is kind of interesting when you see it.
Well, folks, that was Masked and Anonymous. It was quite a little something. You should check it out yourself and have a good time and just be puzzled. While you're not watching Masked and Anonymous, be sure to visit our website, welcometothebasementshow.com. There is a PayPal donation fund. You can donate and support the show. Our recent donors include Guillermo, who writes, "The gun is good, the penis is evil, Zardoz." Guillermo is a fan of the John Borman film, Zardoz. Nils, Ryan, Olaf, Michael, Kempson, Christian, Ophir, Thor, Malin, Monica, who writes, "With love from Norway," and Annette, Craig fan, and Christine, Matt fan. Keep up the good work. And lastly, Waed, or Wade, possibly, who says, "Very nice show, guys. I love the way you make it funny and at the same time interesting. Cheers, mate."
Cheers to you, too.
Thanks for the donations.
This is from Jason Danglifson. "Thank you. When I was a kid, I saw the end of a movie on TV where two guys drifted off into space. It kind of freaked me out, and for the last 25 years or so, I have thought about it every now and then and had no idea what that movie was. And now I know. You two are the best."
The movie he's talking about is Dark Star. It was the first installment in Sci-Fi July.
That's right. I love it when I have some hazy memory from my past and I don't know if it happened or not. And then I encounter it again later on in life, and it's like, oh yeah, great space coaster. Totally remember.
That is all for customer comments. Now it is time for Seen It!
Seen It!
Samuel Kaufman on Facebook writes, "Hey, how do I deal with not liking a movie that everyone in the world seems to love? In this case, Vertigo. I thought it dragged, it lost my interest, and was overly convoluted. Must I watch it again? Have I failed as a cinephile? Could the problem be that I went in with expectations too high? Help!" Samuel, all those things may be true. None of them might be true as well. Seen it, by the way.
Seen it.
I can empathize with you because I felt the same way when I first saw Vertigo.
I, too, felt the same way when I first saw Vertigo.
And reading your comment caused me to go back and re-watch Vertigo. And on the second viewing, it's pretty great. You should give it another chance. Completely putting the story aside, the visuals are just so stunning. Hitchcock was just like a master painter with cinema. Mark Cousins, who did the story of film, calls him the most important image maker of the 20th century, even more important than Picasso.
Picasso. You don't get everything from a song on the first listen. You don't get everything from a painting on the first viewing, and yet people think that they can watch a movie once and just walk away from it. If there's confusion, go back and just check it out again. It's only 2 hours of your life. Pick a day that you're sick, and you might find that everything comes together. Milkman1414 writes, "Have you guys seen Pink Floyd The Wall with Bob Geldof? It was the first VHS I bought, and it cost me $50.
Wow.
I wore it out. If you haven't seen it, see it. Seen it.
Yes, seen it. I saw that in the theater. They were doing a revival of it at my college, and I loved it. It blew my mind. And the part where the boy finds the dead rat made me sad. It made me cry.
I saw it on the big screen, and it might have been the last time I sat in the front row of a movie theater just so I could have the entire screen coming down on me.
I think I was in the front row too.
Yeah, and I remember after like the first song and like the plane crashes, I thought my teeth were shaking.
Got another Jimmy Stewart movie here. Alan North writes, "If you haven't already seen it, I highly recommend Anatomy of a Murder. Amazing courtroom drama with one of George C. Scott's earliest performances, in addition to already all-star cast including Jimmy Stewart, Ben Gazzara, and Lee Remick. Also, Duke Ellington. Seen it.
Also, Catherine Grant. Seen it. I did a play with Catherine Grant in Rice Lake, Wisconsin, and there were a few Russians involved and a Broadway producer. It's a long story."
The movie is very dated, as many Otto Preminger films are, but you do get to hear Jimmy Stewart say the word panties about 100 times, which is entertaining.
Ben Pet 100 says, "Seen it? Black Dynamite." Seen it.
Yes, seen it.
Spoof of Kung Fu Blaxploitation detective movies from the 70s. It is the hardest I laughed at a movie in a really, really long time.
I felt like it was like a half hour too long.
It was 70 minutes long.
I know. It felt long eventually. When it's funny, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But it's a lot to sustain over a feature-length movie.
Yes. Like in all my days, writes, "I'd love to hear your opinions on the movie Chinatown."
Forget about it. It's Chinatown. Seen it.
How do you like those apples? Seen it.
Ah, my nose. Seen it.
Hold on there, kitty cat. Hold on. Seen it.
Well, she's my daughter. Seen it.
She's my sister. Seen it. Where do you even start with Chinatown?
No.
It's really one of the most tremendous movies of all time. It lost Best Picture to Godfather Part 2, and it makes you wonder what's so good about Godfather Part 2. What I love about Chinatown is John Huston in the movie. I don't know if there's any character in any movie that makes you feel like you need to take a shower more after watching the movie.
Sterling Hayden in The Long Goodbye.
Oh yeah. But Hayden isn't the face of evil like John
No, that's
Huston
true.
is.
That is true.
If you like LA Confidential or Who Framed Roger Rabbit, it's the movie for you.
That's Seen It, and that's our show. You know, Craig, soon our beautiful summer will fade away into autumn. Last year, about this time, we did a run of shows that celebrated cinematic auteurs.
Ooh.
But this year, we are celebrating genres.
Oh, excellent.
That's right. Little movie subgenres that have yet to be represented on this show. What are the genres? What are the movies? I don't know. But we are gonna find out. Whoops. That wasn't supposed to be there. I have printed on these cards the names of movie genres. You're gonna pick one, read it, and the next episode you're gonna find out what the movie is. Is this exciting for you?
It's very exciting. Pick one. And it is X-rated.
Uh-oh.
You promised early on that we wouldn't be watching porn.
That doesn't say porn, it says X-rated.
All right.
We could be watching Midnight Cowboy.
X-rated next time. Yes, wait until your parents are asleep.
Tune in next time and find out what the movie's going to be. We'll see you then. Good night. Stop looking at us. Kept waiting for him to point at the camera and go, "What did you think, folks?"
Maybe we're all masked and anonymous. Think about it.
The kitty of the fattest cat of all, me.